in the divide. We're talking crypto, security, legislation. You need to pay attention. Hopefully, you get this and go to your congressman. Questions, concerns, let them know this is beneficial. All right. First of all, crypto legislation. Why should people get involved?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to pass laws right now in DC that impact people's wallets. There is a pretty pervasive perspective in DC right now that crypto is still just a fad. And so, Kris and I, with the Digital Chamber, we're out there every day trying to say, no, we're fighting for our existence. That this is an asset class, this is a technology layer and application that is going to be around for a long time. This isn't a fad. This is not only going to impact the way that people transact and their finances, but could impact how people, how supply chains work through businesses, how people get creative in working with arts and sciences, their health records, their data management. So this technology is here to stay, and these laws right now are trying to dictate how people's lives are going to interact with those technologies, and we're fighting to make sure that the laws on the books are clean and allows the innovation in this space to stay here in the U.S.
Okay.
And I think why people should get involved is that unless congressmen and senators hear from their constituents that these issues are important to them, they won't be as motivated to act and do the right things, or what the industry sees as the right things, to make sure, like Cody said, these laws and regulations allow this technology to flourish here, protecting people's privacy, but allowing innovation to take hold in the U.S. so that the U.S. can reap the benefits of this industry.
Okay. Another question. Why are representatives so uninformed about a technology that's been around for over, let's say, to be generous and say 10 years?
I'll start. It's like a foreign language to them. It's very complex. The internet's been around for a long time, much longer than blockchain technology and digital assets. And I bet you if you ask 95% of Congress right now, they have no idea how the internet works, but they're trying to regulate it. And so I think when we've had conversations in DC about the tech, it goes right over people's heads. And those are great conversations for developers to have, like here in Silicon Valley. But in Washington, they really only care about use cases. What problems is this technology solving for my constituents? And so that's how we've been framing it. And so when we talk about the tech for so long, and I think that's been the issue, we try to convince people, here's what the tech is doing. Here are the X's and O's. It goes right over their head. It's a foreign concept to them. We've got to start framing things in terms of, here's a problem, here's how the technology solves it.
And I would say also that on top of that, Congress is spread so thinly. They have to deal with every issue under the sun, from blockchain and every other technology that you can think of, to social issues, to defense, to healthcare. And so they just simply don't have the bandwidth to be an expert on every issue. This one being a new one, like Cody said, a new technology, they're going to be especially uninformed on, but they are becoming, we've seen even in the last year or so, the level of knowledge and understanding is increasing, sometimes very slowly, but the interest is increasing, and even the members that aren't involved in as closely as the handful that are pushing the legislation, even those ones are starting to understand. I don't get the technical aspects of it, but I do understand that this is important, and we need to focus on it, and we need to push ahead on legislation.
Okay. Because a lot of times in the legislation, the things that I hear, the informed people that should know about talking about the technology, they still talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or they talk about a coin, but the coin is not the technology. That's always the first trigger that let me know these people are not talking about the things that they need to talk about, because they're talking about making the change of the dollar. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the technology that's going to be used in the regular real world, because this decentralized technology ledger is going to allow for the traditional market to operate in a more efficient way, in a more complete way. There's going to be less permission that it's going to benefit the regular person if they're able to tap into this technology to where they can start benefiting from some of their own choices. And I don't get that when I'm talking or I'm listening to Congress, and it seems like they're far away of understanding that initial thing, which means they're not educated at all.
And we're trying to close that education gap. I think why Congress is so myopically focused on Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the various coins, is that's what's sexy. People talk about this when the price goes up, when the price goes down. And when we talk about some of the market failures that have made headlines like FTX, we're always talking about the coins and the prices. And so, to Chris's point, Congress is spread so thin. You know, every day they're going from talking about blockchain to guns to schools to abortion. It's hard for them to understand except what they read in the headlines. And so every day we're trying to pound the pavement at Capitol Hill, trying to explain exactly what you're talking about, the technology, the application layer, the base layer, permissionless, why public permissionless blockchains can help everyday lives, that we don't see it maybe in terms of price go up coins, but we see it in terms of supply chain management, like Walmart's using their blockchain. We see it in terms of, hey, I don't want my healthcare data to be sitting in a folder this big in my doctor's office. What happens if that doctor's office, God forbid, burns down? Why isn't my healthcare data on the blockchain? It seems like it's a clear data management thing. It seems like there's plenty of opportunities out there that would make the government more efficient, that would make private sector more efficient. We're just starting to get to those use cases to really explain them to staff. I think as time goes on, we'll get there, but for right now, unfortunately, the sexy thing in DC is Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes up, Ethereum goes down.
There's not an the lobbying aspect of traditional markets doesn't want a decentralized market because you're eating into my
direct
capital.
threat.
And I think that is a move because if you talk about beneficial, if you're looking at blockchain as the technology, you can save the government trillions of dollars just on the efficiency of how it operates, averse to, and this is just normal things. And we already know our national debt is ballooning. And if you can do one thing that had nothing to do with anything but to save yourself trillions of dollars, why would that be something that would be high on your priority list if you understand the need for it?
Of course, and that's the issue with DC right now, is they're conflating blockchain with just crypto assets and those coins. And we need to really spend time working with every single lawmaker, with every single agency, with the White House itself to say, no, yes, crypto has a place and it's important, but there's this blockchain technology aspect that can be implemented right now across various agencies that can save money for the U.S. government, that can help audit various agencies that have been audited forever, that can cut costs, that can limit the debt, limit the deficit. That's the conversation we're trying to have now. But until we can get away from that conflation of just, oh, blockchain's only crypto. No, blockchain is so much more than that, so much more potential. Until we can get through that thick-headedness, and unfortunately, blockchain technology itself isn't a headline in the Wall Street Journal that then a policymaker can grab onto. We're starting to educate the staff, and it's starting to resonate, but it just unfortunately takes time.
Do you think that the government don't want to be as transparent as blockchain?
Yeah, there's a bit of a catch-22 in building on what Cody said in this question. There are industries that don't want blockchain to succeed, or they want it to succeed under conditions that preconditions that they put out themselves, that they develop themselves. And so the banking industry was slow to grasp what blockchain could do for them and their businesses and their business model. And they, I think, were probably some of the detractors from the industry, and now they've grown to begin to adopt it and to integrate blockchain technology into their core businesses, along with some of the financial products that banks are able to offer, like the Bitcoin ETF, and soon, probably the next month, the ETH ETF. So that's that's been part of the dynamic. I think that you have legacy industries that will be disrupted and are being disrupted, and they want to position themselves to realize some of the benefit and not be completely disintermediated or disrupted by a new startup industry.
So how can we, as the people trying to get this move into legislation, get them to see the importance of digital currency or the blockchain in a decentralized way, and instead of letting them allow the banks to try to want to create a CBDC, which is the central thing which we probably want to avoid.
Pick up the phone, call them. I think that is the most important thing. It sounds easy and it sounds like I'm ignoring the question, but members of Congress act when their constituents raise issues to them. I mean, to be cynical here, like members of Congress really care about one thing, and it's getting reelected. And what drives reelection is votes. And so they will always tap into what their voters are saying, even over special interests and lobbyists. And so even if you've got the banking lobby calling you, be like, hey, we want X, we don't want a decentralized system, we want a CBDC. If they've got a number of constituents saying, no, this is why I care about public permissionless networks, this is why I care about being able to hold my digital assets, this is why I care about being able to use blockchain technology, those members of Congress will start to listen. And then they will start to take those positions and start to move them forward in the government. So it really is as simple as call them, because there's only so much Kris and I can do trying to represent companies and represent people every day from DC. But your member of Congress from, whether you live in California here, or Florida, or Alabama, or Arkansas, if you call them directly as a constituent and say, hey, here's why I care and why you should care, they will listen. That's the most important thing.
And I think also related to that, sometimes they're sort of two sides of the same coin. Is if you have the means, contribute to candidates that are pro-crypto and the pro-crypto political action committees. Money often equals votes, and votes often equal money, and keeping certain members in office. And so that's really what moves and motivates Congress. And Cody and I have heard from staffers that they call us and say, we're getting tons of phone calls about CBDCs, like what is going on, or some other issue. They know, like Cody said, like they take note when they're getting phone calls and people are upset or espousing a particular issue and they're getting lots of phone calls about it. It does make a difference. And so that there's something around 50 million Americans that own digital assets in some form, and that's a huge constituency. If we have a fraction of those people that are motivated to call and write letters and get in touch with their Congress people, that will certainly move the needle. And I think we're seeing that now really in some of the legislation and regulatory action that's kind of broken loose and shaken loose over the last several weeks, and that's becoming more likely.
I would like to try to find out, since you guys are here, is there a way that y'all have some kind of listing that somebody can put themselves on, as far as you can contact them? Because a lot of times if you can give a call out to where, give the information where this is going on, this legislation is going on, people are living their lives, we're not sure when things are being voted on, but a call to where crypto people are concerned about that will be able to, like, oh, this came through my email, their vote, let me call my congressman at this point in time. So the pressure applied will be able to be applied at a good time.
Yeah, we need that grassroots pressure. So you can go to digitalchamber.org. You can join our public mailing list, where you can find out all of the legislative activity that's moving. You can sign up for events to hear about what your local congressman or senator is doing. You can follow all of our channels, the Digital Chamber, and you can absolutely get involved, because we want to hear from you. Really, like, our policy is driven by the member companies we represent, but also by the people. And so when we hear from you about a specific use case or story, we'll bring that directly to your member of Congress.
And I think to get actively involved with the members, the folks who've never done it before, you can just Google who's my congressman, who's my senator, and figure out who they are. Their numbers will pop up, and you can just call that number and express your opinion. And those front offices of the senators and Congress folks, they make note of phone calls. We know, we both worked on the Hill previously. We know how offices work and what they do with input from constituents. So it's not a wasted call. It might feel, like Cody said, it might feel like, oh, I'm just making a phone call, but they really do take note. Actual statistics, we've received X number of calls about this issue, and they go, oh wow, we've received 5 times as many about this issue in the last week than we did ever before about anything else, and that moves the needle.
So, since the government and these representatives, what kind of focus groups did they be using that they're so off in? Are they picking just sequestered neighborhoods, or they don't go far enough out to be diversified? Why are they getting so much like siloed data to where it doesn't represent America as our broad?
It's a great question. I think there are still a lot of members of Congress and the administration itself that doesn't think this technology matters and doesn't think that people care about it enough. I think probably a little bit of that is thick-headedness, where they're trying to ignore that data is out there that says the opposite. This all comes down to, I think, a government ethos, is that this technology was born outside of the government, and that scares the living hell out of the people in power right now who believe more government is a good thing. And so they don't want to accept that there's technology out there that will allow people to bypass the government-regulated intermediaries that have, taken money from the American people for so long, or have had control over the American people for so long. So I think part of it is a willful ignorance, and I think they still haven't heard enough from the people in their districts and states that are saying and speaking up, saying, hey, we care about this. This is why we want to be innovative. We want to be forward in terms of policy making, where digital assets, crypto, blockchain technology can exist here. They're not hearing that enough.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Kris, Cody. Been a pleasure. I will definitely put my people on. There's a couple of other podcasts I connected to. I will definitely try to get them to go on a visual. And I really want this to be spread. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Happy to chat, and we're a resource for you, for the industry. So yeah,
Okay.
happy to connect with folks.
And are y'all based in
DC.
DC?
Yes.
All right. So look,